नालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। ओम नारायण नारायण नारायण। So we were discussing Sugama day today. We were discussing Purva Pakshi's explanation of Adhyasa. So Adhyasa is a simply misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is a wrong way of looking. If you remember the last class, we spent the whole last class we spent on this point alone. I give a simple example of the gold, looking at the gold from the standpoint of the gold. Is Jnanam looking at the gold from others' standpoint. Others means what? What is that other? The others' standpoint is Adhyasa. See, gold is gold, but you take a stand. What is that stand? First thing is seeing the gold standing as a gold, being a gold. Being the gold, when you look at the gold, it is its own standpoint. Now, anything other than its own standpoint is Adhyasa. See, isn't it? Seeing the gold standing as a gold, being as a gold. When you see the gold, yourself being as a gold, the seer is the same as the gold. So you stand as a gold and look at the gold, that is a real standpoint. You look at the gold by standing as something other than the gold. Other means something away from it. Something other than the gold, something away from it. Like in this worldly example, worldly instance, keeping the gold in front of you. You are looking at the gold as you a person. You are a person other than the gold. So you as a human being looking as a gold. So the person keeping the gold in front, you look at the gold, the edge of the gold, and see the shape and the color and all that. So you are a person, somebody other than the gold. This other standpoint alone is Adhyasa. And what is the right one? Drop that other, you stand as a gold. Like in English generally say, stand in his shoes. There is an expression that if you want to understand a person, stand in his shoes. This is an expression in English, and I found it's very interesting and it's very good also. To be able to understand a person, you don't look at as yourself. Okay. To be able to understand person's problem, person's difficulties, his sufferings, whatever he is undergoing, you can't understand standing as yourself. Try to see him as he is. Means what? Try to stand in his shoes. This is a very good expression. Stand in his shoes. That means be exactly what he is. Oh. Now, I was explaining Adhyasa and Satyam. Misunderstanding is from a wrong standpoint. What is wrong? Something other than it. Then what is other than it? You compare it with what is itself. Okay. You stand in shoes of that person, that is his own understanding. Then you stand as you and then look at the person, then this is a other's standpoint. Here, others' standpoint definitely will not give you the same vision, same picture as you look at yourself, as you look at the person, as the person looks at himself. I put it this way. Yeah, I just made a mistake. I repeat the sentence. So looking at somebody as an outsider definitely gives a different picture, different understanding compared to the way he looks at yourself. I think now I made my statement clear. I repeat it. The way you understand somebody as yourself, or understanding somebody as an outsider, gives definitely a picture different from the way he understands himself. So this is what the difference between adhyasa and samyajnanam and mithyagnanam, right understanding and wrong understanding. I gave in the last class the example of a drama, actor in a drama. Actor, if you are looking at an actor on the platform and you are sitting in the audience, now you are looking at the actor as an audience sitting in the, as a person sitting in the audience, then you look at him as another person. Okay, then you see his role he is playing, the makeup and the dialogues and the action and the expressions on his face, all of that you see. But what all you are seeing, his makeup, his actions, his expressions, all that, can the actor see standing as himself? He doesn't see any role there. The role which you are seeing, he looks very beautiful. He looks very interesting. But does what you see, what the audience sees, does the actor see in himself? Actor sees himself as an actor alone, not as the character which he is playing. So the character is only an appearance for the onlooker, not to the actor himself. Okay, this is called adhyasa. Adhyasa is the way he appears to another standpoint. But to himself, what appears to another person doesn't appear to himself, doesn't exist for himself. He alone exists for himself. I tell you, this is adhyasa adhisthana. That's all. Adhyasta is a wrong understanding and the right understanding. If you keep these two examples, okay, the gold example and also example of an actor looking at himself, understanding himself, and actor is looked at and seen by the audience. So the standpoint of the audience is adhyasa, because it is another. Another means what? Outside me, other than me, which takes me away from myself, which takes me totally a different angle of looking, a different way. The very different is other. When I look at myself as I am, from my standpoint, as I am means what? From my here it is only the problem of standpoints, not what appears. Okay, we generally leave about the standpoints we take. We only dispute about God. It is something like I'll give you. Is God saguna or nirguna? Now, who is looking at God? We don't bother about it. Who is discussing whether God is saguna or nirguna? Who is he? What standpoint is he taking? With what instruments, mind, sense organs he is looking at? So the mind and sense organs you are using definitely influence what you are going to see. And where are you standing? What is your standpoint? Where are you standing? If you are standing in your body, mind and sense organs, through them you look at it. What appears? Nobody. What really is, nobody knows. The way it appears to this standpoint alone, you know it. So it is the standpoint that colors, that influences what you see. Therefore, instead of discussing what is Brahman, what standpoint you are taking, that you discuss. But I see most of the people, is Brahma saguna or nirguna? Saguna, nirguna. I say this is unnecessarily creating problem, and you can never decide what is Brahma. Because you don't pay attention to where do you stand, what standpoint you are taking, where are you looking from. You keep on shifting that standpoint, and the reality, whatever it is, appears according to the standpoint you keep shifting. So Here we are not paying attention to the standpoint, only looking at what is Brahman, what is Brahman, what is the truth. Truth itself is, as in the last class I told in the very beginning, the truth itself cannot be decided by taking a stand. Truth itself is not a stand. All other stands are stands. Okay, all other stands are standpoints. But truth itself is without a standpoint. Now from this we understand standpoint means anything other than myself is a standpoint. I don't become a standpoint to myself. Okay, the thing as it is not a standpoint. Thing is a thing, that's all. Therefore, when you give up or drop all the standpoints, you just stand as itself. It is self-shining, Swayam Prakasha. This self-shining or Swayam Prakasha is called Swatasiddha Brahma. It is not a standpoint. Any standpoint is other than yourself, is an imposition, is an adhyasa. Therefore, this is what this is the main crux of discussing all these adhyasa, standpoints and all that. Therefore, I always say, who is looking at Brahman? Who is trying to determine Paramatma nature of Paramatma? Who are we and where are we? What standpoint? When we more than one person are trying to look at Brahma and decide the nature of Brahma, ascertain the nature of Brahma, we are looking from various angles, various standpoints. Now, when we arrive at the nature of Brahma, will we come to understand the same Brahman? When we are taking different standpoints, naturally our understanding of Brahman is going to be varied only. It is bound to be varied. Therefore, I feel there is no point in disputing about Brahma. No, Brahman is like this. Somebody says, no, not like this. He is like this. He is like this. People keep on unnecessarily arguing about the nature of Brahman without paying attention what standpoints we are adopting to look at Brahman. Therefore, every human being is always in a given standpoint. That means some sense organs, mind, some state of mind, some quality, somewhere we are. And the only way to understand the truth is drop all the standpoints and see as the Brahman as a Brahman. Then how to drop all the standpoints, since all the standpoints are away from the truth, outside the truth? Then keep on comparing the various standpoints. When you keep on shifting the standpoints and comparing with one another, you understand it is only a standpoint. The biggest mistake is, wherever we are, we do not understand that it is a standpoint. We think that it is a real point. It is a real stand, not a standpoint. We think it is the standpoint of the truth. This is the mistake. This is adhyasa. Wherever we are, in our body, mind and sense organs, our condition, state of body, mind and sense organ, we think that this is an absolute standpoint. So from this standpoint, whatever we decide about the truth, that is going to be final. Therefore, all fanaticism, all narrow mind, all confusion comes from this alone. When you compare with another's standpoint patiently, with all reverence, with all respect, keep shifting different standpoints, then you come to understand, my God, these are all standpoints only. What I have been all these days was only a standpoint. It is not an absolute fact. This discovery is understanding adhyasa as adhyasa. Okay. Understanding adhyasa as an adhyasa is getting rid of adhyasa. Understanding adhyasa as an adhyasa, only getting rid of that. You can understand adhyasa as an adhyasa only when you understand it is only a standpoint, it is not absolute truth. Absolute truth is absolute. Nobody can decide from a given standpoint. Only by being truth you can discover the truth. Truth can be discovered by being the truth. This is what Advaita stand is. Truth can be discovered by being truth alone, not by being somebody other than the truth. You can't look at the truth. Some people talking all that is only emotional good, that I don't want to be sugar and I want to enjoy the sugar, all that is okay, emotionally talking, and it appeals to people, it is nice, but I tell you, it is not the truth. So some people say, Vedanta says, see, Advaitans say that, or Vedantins say that, you have to in order to understand Brahman, you have to be Brahman. Now they answer that no, I don't want to become Brahman. Brahman is Ananda Swarupa. Therefore, if I become Brahman, I won't become happy. Therefore, I will be enjoyed by somebody. They give an example of a sugar. If you become sugar, ants will eat you. But you don't become sugar. You become an ant so that you can enjoy the sugar. It looks a very nice childish philosophy. Okay. This is good for children. But it is okay. So I don't want to be sugar. I want to be an ant so that I can enjoy the sugar. So you take Brahman as something, an object of enjoyment. So it's okay. You leave them. I don't want to criticize. Who said it? Probably most of you know it. Who says this thing? But we leave them. So these are all for common people. Nice sayings. It attracts, appeals to you very much. My God, Dvaitam alone is correct. Because if Advaitam means what? You become a sugar and then ant will eat you. Therefore Advaitin is at a loss. Advaitin will be eaten by ant. Advaitin will be eaten by Dvaitins. Okay. But if you are Advaitin, you can enjoy Brahman. How great he is. These are all childish talks. So any standpoint other than it is an adhyasa. Therefore, to understand adhyasa as an adhyasa, we have to shift the standpoints. Then you see it is only a standpoint. Otherwise, the stand where you are, if you remain there alone for a long time, you think that is a reality. What is shifting, what is variable is understood as not the truth. What is invariable, what is unchanging is the truth. What keeps changing? What can be changed? A standpoint can be changed. You can adopt another standpoint. A standpoint that can be dropped by assuming another standpoint, then you understand it is a limited angle, limited way of looking. So, to understand adhyasa as an adhyasa, look at it from various angles, various standpoints. So therefore, adhyasa is the problem. Solution is keep investigation. Tattva vichara is the solution. What do you do vichara? Vichara means what? Your standpoints you keep shifting. You inquire into yourself. But what the people do is, wherever we are in your mind, sense organs, whatever stand we take it, we take those standpoint for granted and want to decide the nature of Brahman. Is Brahman Vishnu or Shiva? Is Brahman Saguna or Nirguna? I say this is unnecessary. We are only quarreling. We will never come to the reality. Because who is searching for the reality? Without questioning the person who is searching, we only just take the person for granted and come to decide that Paramatma is only this much. Only this alone is correct. So this is not going to help you to understand the absolute truth. It is only your angle of looking, your way of looking, then that is your concept of Brahma. Therefore you say whether Shiva is Brahma or Vishnu is Brahma. Then who is Brahman? Then he is a Saguna or Nirguna. Even in Saguna there are difference of opinion. You see, it's a very strange thing. You think that by understanding Paramatma is Vishnu. Paramatma means the truth. The absolute truth is Vishnu. Suppose you say that if the truth is Vishnu, if you decide it, you think problems are solved. Even in the Vishnu, how many types of Vishnus are there? There is a Ramanuja Vishnu, Madhva Vishnu, Nimbarka Vishnu, Vallabhacharya Vishnu, probably Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the more and more will come. Even within the Vishnu, there are different ways. You take a Shiva. Then among the Shaivas, there are many. Then Kashmiri Shaiva, and then Tamil Nadu Shaivas, Shaiva Siddhanta they call them. Then the Veera Shaiva. Then how many Shaivas are there? There are 4 Shaivas. Okay, I don't know, one more thing, I read it somewhere. Now, if you decide Paramatma to be Shiva, you think the problem is solved? Now the Paramatma's nature is ascertained. Even there again different standpoints. Again, more and more standpoints, more and more. Therefore, the standpoint, we are never questioning our standpoint. Retaining some standpoint wherever we are, without even verifying, questioning, come to decide the nature of God. God is like this, we say. Oh. And I go on quarreling that mine alone is correct and he is wrong, and he says he alone is correct and you are wrong. When I watch at the people, I say, why people are unnecessary quarreling? Truth has to be one. Whether you look at it, I look at, truth is one. If one means true, whatever it is, it is. Now, even the 1, 2 again, if you use the one word again, the language difficulty, people say whether 1 or 2. 1 means, I don't mean the numerical 1. 1 means whatever it is, it is. In this sense, I used it. I didn't mean 1 or 2, whether it is 1 or 2 or 3 or not. It is not a numerical one I am talking. Truth is one means truth is whatever it is, it is. That's what we mean. Whatever it is, it is. Before you know, it remains the same, and you only have to come to know, but it remains self-existent. It remains self-established. It doesn't change depending upon the person who tries to understand. It remains independent of who knows it. Okay? Who knows it, how he knows it, it is immaterial. Truth remains independent for its own. In this sense, I told 1. 1 means it is independent, and it exists whatever it is. It is whatever it is, like this. Therefore, truth is such a beautiful thing. It doesn't allow you to quarrel. If you quarrel, then it is no more a truth. If you have a different standpoint, that means the standpoints are divided. Standpoints are divided. It can be, then you can look from many angles. Once you say many angles means what? Then each time you are taking a one partial angle. Then partial angle cannot be called as truth. Okay? Cannot give you the total picture of the truth. Truth is just self-existing. It doesn't depend upon anybody's standpoint. So this is what Shankara was discussing, Adhyasa and Satyam. Okay. Now, misunderstanding. So Shankara was telling there is a natural, instinctive Adhyasa in everybody. Because you take yourself, how do you say there is an Adhyasa? Simple, you see. You take yourself to be somebody. And that somebody is an unhappy somebody, incomplete somebody, that you are seeking, that you are worried, that your intention itself shows you are not naturally the truth. You feel you are suffering from something. You feel you are missing something. Your naturalness is lost. That's what is Adhyasa. What else you need? Do you feel natural? Do you feel all problems are solved? You are fearless, you are not worried, you have no problem, you have no tension, you have no fear of death. Everything you are totally free, you are natural, Ananda Swarupa. Nobody has question, nobody has worry, nobody has any tension. But that's not the truth. But that's not our fact. Our actual life is everybody is worried. Everybody is seeking. Everybody is looking for something, trying for something, seeking something. That means what you already are, or what you already know about yourself, is not a right self. The self which you know about yourself is not the right self. It is not a complete self. It is a missing. It is a lacking. It is haunting you. It is putting you on trip. It is pushing you to do something, trying to achieve something. That means the self which you know is an unhappy self. Means somewhere it is wrong. Somewhere something is wrong about myself. That means I am somewhere, my understanding about myself is something other than what I really am. So you see, your own Anubhava says, our own Anubhava, everybody's Anubhava says, my experience of myself, if my experience of myself is really happy and free and from all fear and worry and tension, all those things, then I know that I am the truth. But I feel that I am something away from the truth. I am away from my natural state. Truth means that natural. I am somebody away from my natural state. Something is missing all the time. That means you are standing somewhere which is not your real you. Somewhere away. That away from your real is called Adhyasa. See, let us not go by too much of technical terms. Go by just this simple way, which I am presenting now, and I presented in my last class. It is just a natural. Go directly from our Anubhava. Shastra also tells the same thing, only it uses little technical. Shankaracharya uses minimum technical terms. It doesn't go into unnecessary complications. Very minimum he uses the words. And he keeps to Anubhava, more directly Anubhava. Very few minimum words alone he uses. Therefore, adhyasa is instinctively there in everybody, because everybody takes himself to be somebody which is not your natural self. Everybody finds himself in a natural, everybody finds himself in an unnatural condition. Unnatural means not your swarupa. You find somebody, and that is an unhappy, unacceptable, unagreeable, disagreeable somebody. So therefore, this is an adhyasa. That means you are somewhere missed yourself, and you are in a wrong position about yourself. A wrong understanding of yourself is instinctive in all our activities, in all our behavior, in all our life, in and through all our experiences. There is an underlying displeased state of you, underlying unhappy state of you. That shows that there is an instinctive adhyasa in and through all our being, in and through all our activities, all our life dealings and actions and experiences. Then he says, that instinctive adhyasa, to give an example to that instinctive adhyasa, how this adhyasa means misunderstanding. What is misunderstanding like? What is misunderstanding like? He gives a worldly instance of adhyasa, a worldly instance of misunderstanding, like rope being mistaken for snake or seashell mistaken for silver. He is giving simply an example, worldly instance to compare and see that your own understanding of yourself is a simple misunderstanding like any other misunderstanding. That's all. Now the Vyakhyanakaras, the other people, they try to present the misunderstanding as a object, as a production, and it requires a cause and all that. This explanation was unnecessary. Okay, now we proceed with Swamiji's explanation. Okay, with this introduction we'll go here. Anena tu bhashyena kathamapi na sangachyate. So Shankaracharya in this context is only simply giving an illustration of how is adhyasa. Appearing adhyasa, not the formation of adhyasa, production of adhyasa. See how they are getting diverted. The appearance of adhyasa alone Shankara is taking from the illustration. What is the point that is taken from in the illustration? What is the necessary point taken from the illustration? The way it appears, that's all. In adhyasa, in misunderstanding, it appears something different from what it is. That's all means. And now the appearance, adhyasa means the wrong appearance, wrong knowledge alone is adhyasa. Now more than this wrong knowledge of adhyasa, they people, the Purva Pakshi, goes into unnecessary details and makes it complicated. Okay. Now, how they go into unnecessary details? See, this is a very difficult thing. Understanding the normal health is easy. Understanding the healthy body is easy. What is the unhealthy, diseased body? Diseased body has got 100 ways. 100 ways of diseased body. Healthy body is just one. Similarly, then they deviate. They don't look at adhyasa as a simple anubhava siddha. They want to see the adhyasa as a product and the process and the cause of it and then all the details. How they go, anubhava anarudhatvat. He says, your explanation of adhyasa is not what appearing to everybody. You are going more than appearance and try to imagine many things into it. Try to imagine, explain unnecessary details. You are making into a production. Okay. Anubhava anarudhatvat. Vipratipatti sthanatvacha. It is different from common man's experience. Common man means everybody's. Why common man? Common man, technical man, everybody's man. Okay. So adhyasa is everybody's experience, universal experience. Let us say why common man? Universal experience. A universal experience of adhyasa. Adhyasa means the misunderstanding is simply one thing appearing as different from what it is. This much is anubhava. Even more than this is unnecessary dispute, unnecessary complication. Therefore, anubhava anarudhatvat, your version, your explanation of adhyasa is not a universal experience, first defect of them. Second defect is, it is a matter of dispute. It is disputed. It is not unanimously, universally agreed by all schools of philosophy. All scholars, all acharyas do not agree in that. Regarding the adhyasa, even within the Advaitins, the nature of adhyasa, the product, there are disputes. Each one is coming up with a different explanation of how adhyasa takes place. Okay, how the rope come to appear snake. In that process, in the production, different people give different explanation. Therefore, we will get lost unnecessary in these details, which nobody can decide which was the process the snake has adopted to become the snake. First thing is, snake itself doesn't exist. Where is the question of the process? Which process the snake has adopted to become the snake? There is no process. It is simply misapprehension, that's all. It is a misunderstanding, wrongly understood. Therefore, vipratipatti sthanatvacha, it is a matter of dispute and conflicting opinions. Okay, now he goes further. So I read this. Sugama nahi rajata tat jnanopadana bhutam ajnanam kenachit anubhutam. Now these are the points which have these are the questions we ask, which do not give you convincing answers. These answers don't get convincing. These questions do not get convincing answers in his explanation of adhyasa. One is rajata tat jnanopadana bhutam ajnanam. They said the rajatam is an appearance. They say during the misunderstanding there is a wrong object called silver. Or take the example of a snake. During the misunderstanding, during the illusion, they say there is a wrong object called silver, wrong object called snake. A false snake is produced, and a false snake is produced. It is present there, and for that false snake to be produced, there is an ignorance sitting in rope. Ignorance is sticking to the rope, and that ignorance, positive ignorance, modifies into the snake. This is making it into a production. This he says, kenachid anubhutam, nobody has experienced it. It is purely your hypothesis, your speculation, non-existing in anybody's anubhava. Abhyupagatam va sarvairvadibihi, everybody has not accepted. Nacha kevalam paribhasha siddhasya. Paribhasha, you develop a concept, you supply logic to it, okay, and you provide a special technical term for it. With this, you think the thing comes into existence. Non-existing things, I tell you, non-existing things people imagine, and you give a word to it. You give a name, you give a technical name to it, and you describe it, and you try to put a logic to it, and then come to accept that, oh, such a thing is there. Where is it? It is a purely hypothesis. It never existed anywhere on the earth, in anybody's anubhava. It never existed in anybody's anubhava. So just by paribhasha siddhasya, by using a technical term and giving a definition and providing a logic to it, and then you start assuming, keep on repeating it 10 times with everybody, then as if you imagine that it comes to it. Where is it? It doesn't exist at all. Paribhasha siddhasya prasiddhavat drishtantartham upadanam yujyate. Paribhasha siddhasya prasiddhavat, as if it is existing, drishtantartham upadanam, taking it as an example to prove the atma jnanam, atmadhyasa production. Nayujyate, it is not right. Okay, now we enter into the details. Okay, he just touched it. This is what Swamiji is going to argue and show how he is wrong. Apicha sarvam jagadatman yadhyastam atma chaitanyam cha ekameva advitiyamiti cha pratipadayitum kalu drishtanta pranayanam. See, the purpose of Shankaracharya taking the worldly instance of adhyasa as an example, taking the worldly instance of adhyasa, that is a rope appearing as a snake, taking this worldly instance of adhyasa as an illustration for this Atmadhyasa. Okay. What is the purpose of taking this worldly instance of Adhyasa? Apicha sarvam jagad atman adhyastam. The entire jagat. Jagat means the entire avastha. The entire Jagrada avastha is adhyastam upon the Atman. So, entire jagat is adhyastam of Atman. This is the Anubhava. Atma chaitanyam cha ekameva advitiyam. So, the entire world is only adhyastam. And the real nature of the Atman is only chaitanyam, advitiya chaitanyam. This is the only thing needs to be proven. The whole purpose of Vedanta, and that too in Adhyasa Bhashya, is to show that everything is adhyastam. The entire jagat along with jivahood, jivatvam is adhyastam, and the swatasiddham Atma is advitiya chaitanyam. This is the only thing that needs to be proven. Pratipadayitum kalu drishtanta pranayanam. Only for sake of this illustration, drishtanta is taken. Shuktikahi rajatavad avabhasate. Shuktikahi, the shuktika, the seashell appears as a silver. Okay. Tatra katham adhyapi asiddham tadeva chaitanyam angikritya shuktika rajatodaharanamiti prashtavya iti. Now, Chaitanyam is one. Nobody can see two Chaitanyam. Has anybody seen two consciousnesses? That I am the consciousness and seeing another consciousness. Do you see another consciousness? What does it mean? Seeing consciousness. The one who is seeing is the consciousness. One who is seeing, one who is knowing is the Chaitanyam. Have you seen any other second Chaitanyam? It is impossible to say. Such a thing never exists. But here Purva Pakshi dividing the Chaitanyam into two. One is the Atma Chaitanyam, another is Rajvavachinna Chaitanyam. See the Purva Pakshis, the Vyakhyanakaras say like that. One is Atma Chaitanyam, Sakshi Chaitanyam, another is Rajvavachinna Chaitanyam. Rajvavachinna Chaitanyam, consciousness limited to the rope. Now, where do you find consciousness limited to the rope other than the consciousness which is Sakshi? Now, you unnecessarily divide the consciousness into two as if it is there in everybody's Anubhava. Okay. This is, don't take it lightly, in all over Panchapadika, Vivarana, Bhamati and Vedanta Paribhasha. Dharmaraja Advarindra wrote Vedanta Paribhasha. He also takes like that Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Pramanavachinna Chaitanyam, Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam. We were talking like this, we studied and we were teaching like this alone. Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Pramanavachinna Chaitanyam, Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam. How many Chaitanyams you see like this? Can you see one Chaitanyam seeing another Chaitanyam? All this is unnecessary kalpana. It is confusion. Okay. So he says, Katham Tatra katham adhyapi asiddham. This Chaitanya nanatvam, Chaitanya dvaitam, nowhere asiddham. Asiddham means nowhere it is established. Nowhere it is found in your Anubhava. Katham adhyapi asiddham, tadeva Chaitanyam ekam. Tadeva Chaitanya aikyam, the same one non-dual Chaitanya aikyam angekritya, shuktika rajatodaharanam. Taking that shuktikavachinna Chaitanyam, there is an ajnana sticking to the shuktikavachinna Chaitanyam. You understand? Or let us take ropavachinna Chaitanyam. The ajnanam, that is Mula Vidya, is sticking to the ropavachinna Chaitanyam, Rajvavachinna Chaitanyam. That transforms into. See, there are two Chaitanyam and two Avidyas. Okay. One Chaitanyam is Sakshi Chaitanyam. There is a Mula Vidya sticking to Sakshi Chaitanyam. And there is another Chaitanyam circumscribed by the rope. Another Chaitanyam Avachinnam, Rajvavachinnam. Another Chaitanyam limited to the rope. And there is another Avidya sticking to the rope. Are there two Chaitanyam and two Avidyas divided into two Chaitanyam? This is too much making a drama. Kadambari writing is okay. This all looks like a Kadambari writing. Okay. So it is non-existing. Because, see, Vedanta becomes easy when you go by Anubhava. Don't imagine outside your Anubhava. Just to look at the fact. If you start imagining, all imagination is a confusion. इति तत्र कथमपि अध्याप्य सिद्धं तदेव चैतन्यैक्यम् अंगीकृत्य शुक्तिका रजतोदाहरणमिति प्रष्टव्याः भवन्तः. Therefore we are asking this question. Okay, now Purvapakshi replies. Okay, before Purvapakshi replies, somebody is objecting to Purvapaksha. I am repeating this because you don't get confused. Purvapakshi has a stand. Now against Purvapakshi there is an objection by somebody. Okay, it is somebody asking, challenging Purvapakshi. What is he says? Chaitanyamekam tattad upadi. Now the Purvapakshi. Okay, now this is what we objected. Why do you divide the consciousness into two? There is one consciousness. Nobody can see the second consciousness. Now Purvapakshi is defending his thing. He says, Chaitanyekam tattad upadivashad bhinnameva pratibhasate mahakashaiva ghato danchanadhyupahitaha. Now he says, just as the same akasha appears as a mahakasha and ghatakasha, similarly, see, this is Purvapakshi is defending his wrong paksha, his wrong siddhanta, his wrong paksha, wrong prakriya, he is defending it. Let us see how Purvapakshi is defending. I am going slowly and repeating because there are new students who are not familiar with Swamiji's prakriya and they may get confused. Therefore I am going slowly and repeating few points. Now remember, this is Purvapakshi, not Sachidanandendra Swamiji. Purvapakshi is asking, Sachidananda Swamiji, what did say? What did Swamiji say? Why dividing one Chaitanyam into Rajvavachinna Chaitanyam and Sakshi Chaitanyam? How can you divide Chaitanyam into two? There is one Chaitanyam, you can't divide into two. Now Purvapakshi is defending his dividing the Chaitanyam into two. He says dividing Chaitanyam is good and required. Now let us see what he says. He is telling now. Purvapakshi is talking. Let us listen silently. Chaitanyam ekameva sat, Chaitanyam remaining one, tattad upadivashat bhinnameva pratibhasate. Because on account of upadi, the same Chaitanyam appears as many Chaitanyam. See, just as one Akasha appears as Ghatakasha, Mahakasha, one Chaitanyam appears due to upadi as many. See, even with upadi, it is our objection now, I am asking. Even due to upadi, can one Chaitanyam appear as a many Chaitanyam? How can it appear as many Chaitanyam? Chaitanyam remaining one. How can it appear as many Chaitanyams? This is his defect. Okay, now Pramana Prameya Vyavaharecha. Now Pramata Pramana Prameyam. We have got one who knows is a Pramata. What is known is a Prameyam. See, I am the seer and I am seeing a book. Okay, book is Prameya, the knower is Pramata, the knowledge of the book is Pramanam. Pramanam is the Vritti Jnanam. Vritti Jnanam, the thought of the book. Okay, now he says there are three. One is the knower. Knower is me, the person me, and the known is the book, and the knowing is the thought of the book. So these are the three. Pramatru, Pramanam, Prameyam. Now he says the same Sakshi is divided into three. What is the three? Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam. Means the consciousness limited to the knower, consciousness is limited to the Pramanam, consciousness limited to the Prameyam. My God, see how he divides it. Consciousness, he says, Pramana Prameya Vyavaharecha, Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Vrityavachinna Chaitanyam, Vishayavachinna Chaitanyam iti vibhaktam. Now the consciousness is, Chaitanyam is divided into three. Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Pramanavachinna Chaitanyam, Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam. This is what you find in Panchapadika, Vivarana, and also Dharmaraja Advarindra was a scholar about 2 centuries ago, 2 or more also, probably 2.5 to 3 centuries ago. He wrote Vedanta Paribhasha. In that Vedanta Paribhasha, he divides Chaitanyam like this into three. So it is an important book. Beginners generally study according to Mula Vidya Prakriya. The beginners study first 2 books. These two books are prescribed as the preliminary prakaranas for all the Vedanta universities in India. Not English universities. English universities, they read all our westernized books. I don't know. They read probably Radhakrishnan book or Das Gupta book. They know. Probably they read Datta and Chatterjee and Chandradhar Sharma. They read more of English books rather than Sanskrit. But the traditional Sanskrit Vidyapits, like the government established the Sanskrit Vidyapit, Tirupati Sanskrit Vidyapit, Kashi Vidyapit, and there are many Sanskrit Vidyapits. So these Vidyapitas, government also established. There the Sanskrit medium Shastras are traditional Shastras are studied. There Vedanta, for Vedanta preliminary beginners study two prakaranas. One is Vedanta Sara, written by Sadananda. So Swamiji also gave the name Vishuddha Vedanta Sara. Note the difference in the name. That Vedanta Sara is Sadananda Rachita Vedanta Sara. Vedanta Sara written by Sadananda. I call it Sadananda Vedanta Sara. And then what Swamiji wrote, which we have been discussing in Kannada. Yesterday we discussed and tomorrow we will discuss. This is Vishuddha Vedanta Sara by Sachidanandendra Saraswati Swamiji. Okay? Note the difference. Sadananda Vedanta Sara is a different book. Vishuddha Vedanta Sara written by Sachidanandendra Swamiji is a different book. Okay. So they study Sadananda Vedanta Sara is one book and Vedanta Paribhasha is different. Sachidanandendra Swamiji wrote another Vedanta Paribhasha. Vishuddha Vedanta Paribhasha Sachidanandendra Swamiji wrote. Okay. Vishuddha Vedanta Paribhasha. That Vishuddha word is additional word. Remember it. So Swamiji wrote two books. Vishuddha Vedanta Sara, Vishuddha Vedanta Paribhasha. These two books as a preliminary for understanding Prasthanatrayi Bhashyam and also Sureshwara Gaudapada. These two books are the preliminary books for any student who wants to understand pure Vedanta of Shankara Prakriya. These two books are useful. That's why I have started Vishuddha Vedanta Sara. Now it is coming to an end. In another 10 days we are going to finish it. In Kannada I am dealing with it. So I hope to start either Vishuddha Vedanta Paribhasha or Mula Vidya Nirasa, whichever you like, depending upon your interest. We will see that later. So Vishuddha Vedanta Paribhasha. So they means that Mula Vidya, which is prevalent in all over universities, in all over India, in all Sanskrita Vidyalayas, when they study Vedanta, they study Vedanta Sara and Vedanta Paribhasha. So that Vedanta Paribhasha was written by Dharmaraja Adhvarendra, some South Indian Pandita, a great scholar 2.5 to 3 centuries ago. Okay. So that Vedanta Paribhasha also discusses this consciousness dividing into three. One is Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Pramanavachinna Chaitanyam, Prameyavachin. Now what are you? He is explaining that. So that Chaitanyam is divided into three. I read the sentence. Pramana Prameya Vyavaharecha. Pramana Prameya Vyavahara means what? I am the Pramata. With the help of my eyes and mind, with the help of the mind and eyes, Indriyas, I am trying to know the object. This is called Pramatru Pramana Prameya Vyavahara. I am a person trying to know the book with the help of sense organs and mind. In this Pramana Prameya Vyavahara, he continues, Purvapakshi continues to say that consciousness is divided into three. Okay. Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Vrutyavachinna Chaitanyam, Vishayavachinna Chaitanyam iti. He divides the one Chaitanyam into three. Pramatravachinna Chaitanya iti vibhaktam cha sat. So being divided into three, vibhaktam sat, tattat pratyaksha samayecha abhedatang gacchati. Now the Chaitanyam which is divided into Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Pramanavachinna Chaitanyam, Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam. When you are trying to know a book, let us say you are a Pramata trying to know the Prameyam. Now when you Pramatavachinna Chaitanyam trying to know the Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam, that means the book Avachinna Chaitanyam, Pustakavachinna Chaitanyam you are trying to know. So when these two consciousnesses come together, you come to know the book. What is this? See, he says consciousnesses are divided into three. When they come together, then the book is known. This is what is his prakriya. Okay. Ityeva varnanam. Purva Pakshi is over. Now the Vedanti, that means Sachidanandendra Swamiji, is objecting to that. What is this explanation? Consciousness dividing into three. When they come together, jnanam takes place. So he says, Kim Chaitanyaikyam Jnani Pratibodhaya Ahosit Tad Ajnani Pratibodhaya Iti Vaktavyam. Now Swamiji is questioning it. Now is a Siddhanti answering. Okay, come to Siddhanti. Siddhanti is refuting Purva Pakshis and is also raising an objection. You are dividing consciousness into three. Pramatravatchinna Chaitanyam, Pramanavatchinna Chaitanyam, Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam. For whose sake are you dividing consciousness Chaitanyam into three? Is it for Jnani or Ajnani? Jnani means what? One who knows Chaitanyam is one. Chaitanyam is Advitiyam. One who knows Chaitanyam consciousness is non-dual. Are you showing this consciousness into three? Are you dividing this consciousness into three for sake of a Jnani who understands Chaitanyam is one? Or you are dividing this consciousness into two for a person who doesn't know that Chaitanyam is one? He is Ajnani. Okay. For whose sake tad Ajnani Prabodhaya? In order to teach Ajnani. Whom are you teaching these three divisions of Ajnana? Three divisions of Chaitanyam. Three divisions of Chaitanyam. Whom are you teaching? Are you teaching Jnani or Ajnani? Ubhayatapi Vartha Prayasayeva. Swamiji says, Ubhayata. Either way, the effort is waste. Okay. Ubhayatapi Vartha Prayasayeva. Either way, your effort goes waste. Because Nahi Pratipadyam Chaitanyaikyam Viditavataha Pramanadi Nirupanecha Jayate. Jnani who knows the Chaitanyam is one non-dual, does he need Pramanavachinnam Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam? Does Jnani want to know Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam? Because Chaitanyam he is already. He knows one non-dual Chaitanyam, Advitiya Chaitanyam. Why does he need these two? So this dividing into Pramatravacchinnam Chaitanyam, Pramanavachinna Chaitanyam, Prameya, this division is meaningless, is Anubhava Viruddham, it goes against Anubhava and it is illogical. Okay. And it is useless because it doesn't help Jnani because Jnani doesn't need it. He already knows one Chaitanyam. Then coming to Ajnani, does Ajnani need it? Does it help him in any way to understand the things better? Aviditavatastu, for the aviditavan Ajnani. Aviditavatastu, nakaschid-artho varnanena, no purpose is served by describing the consciousness in this manner for sake of Ajnani. Okay. Pramatravachinna Chaitanyam, Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam, ityadi vibhagasya durjnanatvat tena. Because Ajnani cannot understand Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam, how is he understand? Tell. You see now, you are a Pramatru. Pramatru, I am here and I am looking at the world. This is an Ajnani common man's standpoint. I am the knower and I am seeing the world. How am I to understand there is a Prameyavachinna Chaitanyam? You see, there is a consciousness avachinnam to this pen. This pen avachinna Chaitanyam, can you see? How can you see? It is a too difficult to understand. It is obscure. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Durjnanatvat means what? It doesn't make any sense. It is only words, further confusion. Ityadi vibhagasya durjnanatvat tena. No. Nahi loke asti anubhavaha. Because in loka means in everybody's common man's life, there is no anubhavaha, shukti pratyakshavataha, shukti avachinna chaitanyam maya jnatamiti. When you know silver, when you know the seashell, when you know the shukti, do you say that I have understood shukti avachinna chaitanyam? When you see a book, do you say that I am seeing the book avachinna chaitanyam? Pustaka avachinna chaitanyam. Does anybody know? Does anybody know that I am knowing the Pustakavachinna Chaitanyam? Then where is this Pustakavachinna Chaitanyam other than there is one Chaitanyam? Oh, this is a confusion. Therefore, it is not in keeping with, it is not in consonance with Anubhava. Shuktavachinna Chaitanyam Maya Jnatamiti. Now the Siddhanti so far found fault with Purvapakshi. Okay, Purvapakshi is a confusion, unnecessary division. Two things he told. That Chaitanya, dividing the Chaitanyam into three, it is not in Anubhava, it doesn't make any sense. Elaborately he explained and how it is wrong. Now you see, Purvapakshi tries to defend it. Now let us see how he defends it. Nacha vacham yesha tavad vastu sthitihi. He says, yesha tavad vastu sthitihi. Vastu sthitihi yesha iva. Vastu sthiti higide. This is how the vastu sthiti is. This is how the fact is, he says, Purvapakshi. Loke tatha vyavahara astu mamavat. Let people think or not. Let people understand it or not. This is the fact, he says. See, when people don't think of it, where does it exist? See, the Purvapakshi is unnecessarily defending it, the indefensible, falsely. Siddhanti state, Siddhanti refutes, Vastusthite radhyapi asadhitatvat. Vastusthiti which you are talking of, the fact which you are talking of, where is it? Where is it? I am questioning the very fact, show me. When you are unable to show the fact, you say that this is the fact. Where is it? Vastusthiti itself is not there. Where is it? Vastusthite radhyapi asadhitatvat. Okay. When there is, because you are a pramatru, that is a consciousness. Prameya is a gneyam. Prameya being a gneyam. Gneyam is only known to the jnanam, jnata. How can you say pustakavachinna chaitanyam, I am seeing it? Do you say, I know the ghatavachinna chaitanyam? You know the ghata. But do you say, I know the ghatavachinna chaitanyam? How does anybody know? Chaitanyam is the one who knows the ghata. Does the chaitanyam, you, the knower, does the knower chaitanyam knows the ghatavachinna chaitanyam? Do you know another chaitanyam? The vastusthiti itself is not like that. What are you talking? Therefore, vastusthiti itself is not like asiddhasya cha angikare yasya kasyapi darshanasya supapadattatvat. See, when it is asiddha, you are explaining. What is not existing, what is not in existing in anybody's anubhava, when you are trying to present it, if you go by that way, anything can be established, anything can be presented as a truth. You can put anything and say that this is what it is. Therefore, it is tasmat anubhava anarudhatvat. Therefore, it cannot be understood. It is not in anybody's anubhava. Bhava jnanasya sarvatapi asangavat anubhavatvat. Another thing is positive ignorance you are talking. That positive ignorance is sticking to the rope consciousness. Rajvavachinna chaitanyam, that positive ignorance is sticking. Where is that chaitanyam? There is only one chaitanyam we are. We don't have another chaitanyam. Therefore, bhava jnanasya sarvatapi asangatam, talking about that bhava vidya, mula vidya is totally irrelevant. Tasya aropita rajatadi rupen. Secondly, that first thing is, see, he says, two things he told. One is there is a rajju avachinna chaitanyam. Second point, that there is an avidya sticking to bhava avidya sticking to that rajju avachinna chaitanyam. Third is it is transforming into the snake. And he says these three are meaningless. First is rajju avachinna chaitanyam, nobody has seen. Avidya sticking to it is nowhere in anybody's anubhava. And it is transforming into snake, this also doesn't. So these three are only your own speculation, non-existing in anybody's anubhava. Okay. Swotprekshita prakriya tannivrittir. Then again you say, because of jnanam, when you come to know the ropavachinna chaitanyam, ajnanam goes away. Ropavachinna chaitanyam itself doesn't exist. Then how do you come to know that I know the ropavachinna chaitanyam? Then the ajnanam goes away. Where is it? All this is abhitti chitram. Thing is, vipratipatti sthanam. This is disputed. Vipratipatti sthanam cha idam varnanam vadinam nahi vedanti pirapi sarvairabhyupagamyate. It is disputed and it is not accepted by all Vedantins. Therefore, all your explanation is just a speculation, meaningless, unnecessary. It is in nobody's experience, unnecessary, complicating. Okay. This is what Siddhanti answered. Now Purvapakshi says that no, it is correct. He tries to more vehemently defending it. Now, okay, how he defends it, we'll see in the next class. More vehemently he tries to defend. Swamiji not mentioned the author, but all these are verbatim picked from the various Vyakhyanakara Granthas. These sentences, some of them I know from which book they are. I have underlined in my books. Some of them I have to trace them. A verbatim picked from them. Okay? How Purvapakshi defends his prakriya, how that adhyasa formation, he will explain in the next class. Okay? Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.